and those hormones rage. And I'm sure, I'm 100% sure that Jesus went through the same thing. But he never sinned. He never lusted in his heart for a woman. Think about that. When he came out of the desert after 40 days of fasting, he was starving. And Satan came to him and says, if you are indeed the Son of God, turn these stones into bread, because I know you're hungry, dude. Okay? Jesus didn't do it. He overcame the temptation. That's one reason, among others, that I also believe Jesus never consumed anything that was fermented. Okay? Because fermentation creates a buzz. Jesus was fully God. You can't tell me that God desires to have that feeling. You know, if we go look at the week of Passover, and Jesus followed the law to the letter. He never deviated from it. You know, during Passover, they weren't allowed to have any leaven in their house, in their food, in their drink, in their house, in their territory. If you'll read Exodus, you'll see, and Deuteronomy, you'll see, also in Leviticus, you will see where they were commanded not to have any leaven in their land for that period of time, because leaven usually represented sin. Leaven had to be present in wine to ferment it. It was a form of yeast. So I know that Jesus did not consume anything fermented during Passover. And neither did his disciples, because they were all Jewish men that followed the law. And the law said, if you do that, you will be cast out from Israel. Okay? So there were major consequences to breaking the law. So Jesus overcame temptation, never yielding once. Even when he was on the cross, he was tempted. Who tempted him, folks? Satan did. Just like he did in the desert, if you are the Son of God. He tempted him through the Pharisees, and the Pharisees said, leave him be. If he is the Son of God, if you are the Son of God, Jesus, come down off of that cross and prove it. He overcame that temptation. How many times are you tempted to do something that you know you ought not to do, but you do it anyway? You see, that's why we serve a perfect Savior, a sinless Savior, because you and I cannot be perfect. But he wants us to overcome temptation, because God does not tempt us, the enemy tempts us. I want you to understand that. God the Father never tempted Jesus. It was the enemy that continuously tempted him and came after him at a more opportune time. Brother Bill, you remember that. So he overcame every temptation that was ever put before him, which brought life to all of his children who yielded to him. The first Adam brought death to all of his children through his disobedience, and disobedience is sin. I want you to know what the definition of sin in God, from God's perspective is. It's disobedience to him. He doesn't want you to take anything into your body that's harmful to you. If you take anything into your body that's harmful to you, that is sin. He doesn't want you to do that. We can start right there. He wants you to be obedient to all of his commands. Jesus said, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and don't do what I say? That doesn't make me your Lord. That makes you your Lord, you see. Jesus was the perfect sacrifice. And that's why we can look up to him. That's why we can call on Him. That's why the Philippians 4:13 tells us that we can do all things through Christ. We can overcome these temptations through Christ who strengthens me. Did you know that when